Now on News 11's Evening Edition, 6 people are dead after an apparent murder-suicide incident in Yuma and across Yuma County. We will have the very latest.
Plus, a local attorney is among those dead killed in this fatal shooting spree. I'm News 11's John Archuleta, and we'll have a live report for you from the scene of the crime.
And people from across the desert Southwest are reacting to today's horrible tragedy. The Evening Edition starts right now.
You're watching KYMA, where news comes first. This is News 11, the Evening Edition.
Good evening, I'm Nick Saletti. The quiet town of Welton is now in shock after a gunman goes on a killing spree. News 11's Anna Corpus has the latest details on the murders. Anna.
Nick, Welton is a small town east of Yuma, but today it's filled with law enforcement while they piece the clues together from 5 crime scenes in Welton where people were shot and killed.
It's come to an end with the death of our apparent suspect.
But before taking his own life, the Yuma County Sheriff's Office says 73-year-old Kerry Dice killed his ex-wife and 3 other East County residents.
Sometime after 5 a.m., we received the first call of a shooting out here in Welton. Units responded and discovered an adult female who had sustained multiple gunshot wounds.
The woman lives here alone, and neighbors say she's a bus driver. Now she's fighting for her life at a Phoenix hospital. From here, the Yuma County Sheriff's Office kept getting calls of more shooting victims.
We responded to a residence on 35E where we discovered an adult female who was deceased. While we were investigating that, we learned of another shooting that had happened in Yuma. Not long after that, we received information about a 4th scene on Highway 80 near Avenue 32E. We responded to that location where we found 2 subjects, an adult male and an adult female, both deceased.
Sheriff deputies found the last victim, a man on Avenue 36E, that's in Tacna. Law enforcement found Dice's body in the remote area of Blythedale and Highway 95.
We'll continue to investigate, identify associations, and try and determine a motive for these crimes.
YCSO tells us one of the victims is Dice's ex-wife, and none of the victims' identities are being released until their families can all be notified. Nick, back to you.
All right, thank you for that update, Anna. Within an hour or so after shooting 4 people in the county, police believe the suspected gunman then made his way to a Yuma business where he killed another victim. News 11's John Archuleta continues tonight's team coverage.
Nick, police say the shooting happened after 9 this morning at a law firm located here on the corner of 2nd Avenue and Gist Parkway. That's where the police say the gunman opened fire and killed local attorney Gerald Shelley.
Coming here in from work, saw the helicopter flying over and circling, had no idea, and it was just cops everywhere, taped off, cones, walking around with their AR-15s and their Mini-14s, holding people down.
James Schultz describes this crime scene that forced the Yuma County Courthouse, City Hall, and nearby schools on a lockdown Thursday morning. Schultz was supposed to meet with his attorney Gerald Shelley, whom police say was shot and killed at his office on the 300 block of 2nd Avenue.
He's a good guy. He helped my brother out in his divorce hearings, and a real devoted family man. I went to junior high and high school with both his daughters. Big in the Mormon community. He's just a nice man.
A full search was launched for the gunman.
We do have a possible suspect. He's an elderly white male with gray hair.
The suspect was later identified by police as 73-year-old Kerry Hal Dice of Yuma. Police believe Dice took his own life and was linked to more deadly shootings in the outskirts of Yuma.
4 are confirmed dead in the county and 1 is confirmed dead here.
Police have not released a motive at this time, but Schultz believes it had something to do with Shelley's profession.
With the 4 dead in Welton, then coming down here, it's the case. It's got to be.
The news of the shooting comes as a shock to the Yuma community. Schultz says his thoughts remain with Shelley's loved ones.
Praying for him and his family, that's for sure.
Still, so many questions surround this tragedy. What exactly was going on through Dice's mind when he allegedly opened fire on these people? That's something investigators will ultimately
have to answer. Reporting live from Yuma, John Archuleta, News 11. Now back to you.
All right, thank you, John. Well, needless to say, people all across the desert Southwest are shocked and horrified at what happened in this community, especially the victims' neighbors. News 11's Rebecca Buchanan talked to one of those neighbors. Rebecca, good evening.
Nick, when Tiffany Buchanan saw the cars at her neighbor's home this morning, she went by to make sure everything was all right, and that's when she got the news. She continued calling neighbors and close friends, only to find out that 4 of her best friends were dead. Once Buchanan found out Carrie Dias was the suspected shooter, she started to put the pieces together. She says from what she knows, her friends were all that were killed were testified against Dias in his divorce, and Jerry Shelley was the divorce lawyer. She says her friends asked her to testify, but she couldn't bring herself to do it because she feared for her family. Buchanan says just 3 days ago, she talked to one of the victims about Dias, and the victim said she was scared for her life.
I wasn't surprised. She feared him since they were divorced. She had many complaints to the police about him.
Buchanan says she doesn't know how to feel about knowing that her 4 best friends are gone. Again, investigators are not releasing any details on a possible motive. Nick?
All right, thank you, Rebecca. Now, more people are starting to react to this horrible act of violence. News 11 went to the area where Shelley worked to try and see how people are coping with the news of this tragedy.
Just kind of shocking to see, that it happened right here in our community. And
as a community, I know, I've talked to several other attorneys, we're all very devastated. Mr. Shelley was part of the old guard, someone who's practiced for 30 years here. He was very kind, very dedicated.
It's tragic because, you never know when your time is up. That's why you really have to, ask yourself what's going to happen to you.
Okay, and of course, we encourage you to comment on this tragedy. Just head to our Facebook page at KYMA-TV. Feel free to share your feelings with us. Again, that's on Facebook, KYMA-TV. Meanwhile, Governor Jan Brewer issued a statement following today's shootings. Brewer said, "Like all Arizonans, I am horrified at the news of today's tragic shooting deaths in and around Yuma. Many questions remain unanswered at this point, but I know that law enforcement and investigators will be working to piece together this tragedy in the days ahead." She adds, "In the meantime, the cruel violence has left a void in our hearts. My thoughts and prayers are with the victims of this tragedy and their families, as well as the Yuma community." The First Southern Baptist Church of Welton will be hosting a community memorial service for the victims of today's shootings. The service will be held Sunday at 6 in the evening. It will be led by Pastor Charles Wessner, Alan Pacini, and Scott Ferris. All of the community is welcome to attend. Crisis intervention counselors will also be available. For more information, you can contact Pastor Charles Wessner directly at 928-941-0874. A Blythe woman is behind bars for allegedly stabbing her boyfriend. Police say 47-year-old Guadalupe Santana and her 36-year-old boyfriend got into an argument last night. After the boyfriend fell asleep, Santana allegedly went into the room and stabbed him in the chest. Officers say Santana called 911, saying she had stabbed her own boyfriend. The victim was taken to Palo Verde Hospital for medical treatment. No word yet on his condition. Santana has been booked into Riverside County Sheriff's Jail. The man accused of kidnapping and raping J.C. Lee Dugard learned his fate in court today. Philip Garrido received a sentence of 431 years in prison, while his wife Nancy was sentenced to 36 years behind bars. The couple pleaded guilty last month to kidnapping Dugard when she was just 11 years old and holding her captive for 18 years. Dugard surfaced in August of 2009. Authorities say the Garridos kept her hidden in a compound in their own backyard. A massive fire broke out at a furniture factory in Southern California. Firefighters from both Los Angeles and Glendale spent the night battling this blaze at a building that sits right on the border. Now, eventually, they were able to bring it under control. So far, no word on damage estimates or how the fire started. No injuries have been reported. All right, we're going to take a quick break from news and check in with News 11's Rob Fram, who is standing by live in studio with a look at tonight's forecast. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, Nick, and everyone at home. Tonight's forecast looking awfully nice. Today we've had a pretty nice weather day considering our temperatures have been a lot lower than what they would normally be for this time of year. 91 degrees in both Yuma and El Centro at this time. Blythe, sitting just an eyelash underneath the 90-degree mark at this moment in time. Well, we're looking at nice conditions through the rest of this evening, and we'll let you know just how nice temperature-wise. And then the mild days will continue on into tomorrow, and then the old warming trend will be coming our way. We'll let you know just how toasty we're expected to get as we get on into your weekend. That's coming up in my weather forecast in just a little while. Nick, back to you.
All right, thanks, Rob. A new survey shows a majority of California voters disagree with Governor Jerry Brown's tax proposal. The Public Policy Institute of California survey shows the public remains resistant to Brown's plan to extend temporary increases to sales, vehicle, and personal income taxes. The latest poll found 62% of likely voters approve Brown's revised budget proposal, but only 46% of likely voters support his actual tax plan. Brown and lawmakers are trying to close the state's remaining $9.6 billion budget deficit through next June. Up next on the evening edition, pint-sized spellers get the national spotlight. As the rest of us struggle, is it a sign of our technology addiction or maybe something else? The answer behind your spelling quandaries is next. And say goodbye to the food pyramid and hello to the plate. Find out how the federal government is hoping you can use it to stay healthy. Those stories and more straight ahead.